It's Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Call our meeting to order and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have a roll call.
Hayward,
Yes.
Burkrow,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Collister, Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett. Yes.
Okay, item 4 is approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
I got a motion by,
Second?
who made the motion?
Go Lion.
Lyon made
Lyon
the
and
motion.
Burkrow.
Who made the second?
Richard.
Richard, okay, very good. If you've got that recorded, go ahead and take the roll.
Burkrow,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett. Yes. Hayward.
Yes.
All right, next is our public hearing or public participation. Is there anybody who wishes to get up and address the council tonight? Seeing nobody, we'll move on. Item 6 is a presentation, and that's going to be the YMCA Aquatic Park Plans and Project Update with Cole Moeller from CRS.
Come on up, Cole. Show's yours. Yep. Who's a Loudon guy, by the way, not a Wisconsin guy like CRS. So
Yes,
coaches
not too
high school
far-
basketball and is deeply involved with our area for
Not too
from
far away
volunteering
from you guys.
perspective.
Yep, I grew up and
Take it easy on him.
yeah, Josh is gonna help me flip through the slides of my presentation today. Tried to keep it short and just do a high level overview, but if you guys have any questions during the presentation or afterwards, just please ask at any time. So we'll go ahead and go through it. Click the, start there button. Couple things that we wanted to touch on at tonight's meeting. First is the site plans and the layout that we've been working on. We have almost 90% plans completed, so we're gonna take a look at those. The splash pad layout, how we go about laying out the splash pad, why we did what we did. So kind of talking you through the design process of it. Some of the other amenities that are gonna go within the project itself, and then wrapping it up with the operation analysis that'll show you kind of the seasonal cost of what it'll take to run this pad. So we'll go to the next slide. Here we'll see, it'll flip through a couple photos, but you'll see some of the site plans that we have been working through for this pad project itself. So we are partnered with Parkitecture. They're out of Wisconsin, and they specialize in park and recreation projects. So Katie McDonald is our contact there. She's been helping us lay out these plans. And we are almost there to 100% plan completion, but gives you an idea of the layout, where the pad is in respective to both the Y, Madison Street, and then where our restroom building, WQMS equipment is housed, and then how the pad is laid out. So we can go ahead, go to the next slide,
Hey,
Josh.
pause you real quick, Cole.
Yes.
A couple questions came up on council and audience. There's 2 restrooms here. One that's motivated because of cost savings, and then 2, the YMCA is a public facility. And if there's an overflow need of some sort, the Y could be available to people in that case. So state inspectors were accepting of that. This is different from being a quarter mile away on the other side of a major city park. That's not the case. So that's why you see one restroom when possibly there might be 100 patrons here on a hot July day. Yes, Carolyn.
And they're both ADA accessible?
Yes. And then what I think is neat, and we're still trying to figure this out, is there's 2 stone arches that we're trying to put on the sidewalks to resemble Dance Hall Cave as you enter the structure. We're in touch with a couple contractors on what that would look like so that you give some sort of feel that you're passing under through one of the hiking trails as you come into this feature. So I can't 100% guarantee it, but it's a lofty goal of ours to see through to the end that we do that right and kind of give that feel through a stone arch that way as you enter this. So sorry, Cole.
No, absolutely. That's a good point. So there's a lot more aspects to the project as a whole. So if you guys do have any questions on anything else, just please bring it up before the sake of time. We kept it a little bit short for this meeting, but we can go ahead and flip the page. This will bring us into the splash pad design and how we go about designing a pad. So no matter the size, it could be 1,500 square foot or it could be 5,000 square foot. We want to make sure that it's safe and that we categorize it by the kids who are going to use it and what age groups they are. So we have 3 different bays that we classify in a splash pad. One would be the toddler bay for those 2 to 5 or the younger kids. One would be the family bay, and then the other would be the teen bay. So the toddler bay has some of those smaller features. They're a little bit shorter to the ground. They're low flow. They're not very intensive. Kind of a place where those younger kids can just chill out and not be intimidated by the features themselves. The family bay usually is the largest area just because it has some of those intermediate features that still aren't very high flow, but they're a little bit taller, maybe a little bit more impressive. You can see them from the curb, have a little bit more appeal. And then the teen bay is kind of that competitive area with some of the higher intensity sprays, some of the spray cannons, the larger dumping buckets, etc. So that's how we break it out. And we'll go ahead and go to the next slide here, Josh, and I can talk through the spray zone. So this is a 2D plan of the pad itself. Off to the side, you have the legend. You'll see all the individual features that are going to be a part of the splash pad. It will show you the quantity. It'll give you a reference letter so you can pick it out on the pad. And then it has the GPM, which is gallons per minute. So that's the amount of water that the feature runs through. At the bottom, you can see the total GPM takes all of them into consideration. So right now, the total for the design we have is 550 gallons per minute. Keep in mind that this pad is sequenced, so not all the features are going to be running at one time. It's usually sequenced to about 65 to 70% of the features are running. On the left-hand side, those are some of the smaller, less intense sprays that we would classify as the toddler area. And then as we move through over to the right or the east, if you will, we kind of get into some of those higher intense sprays, which we would classify as the teen area. You can see we do have an elevated play structure on this pad, so a little bit more in depth than just a standard splash pad feature. It's actually an aquatic play structure that has 2 integrated slides and then an assortment of spray features as well. So, Josh, if you want to go ahead to the next slide, we'll see a little video, I believe.
Noting also it's a recirculating system, so that 550 gallons a minute gets sent back through the system.
Yep, that is correct. It is going to reuse the water similar to a pool. So this will walk you through kind of a 360-degree perspective of what those features will look like. This is really nice because you can see what the features do. So a lot of Vortex's features aren't just one static water effect. They can actually spin. Kids can manipulate them. They can play with them. So it adds a little bit more play value than just a standard water feature that has one, spray effect.
Is that exactly what it's going to look like when it's completed?
That is exactly what it's going to look like. The only thing that may be different here is the concrete color. So we are planning to do a mimic of the Maquoketa River running through the middle of it. On one side, we'll have an urban area, if you will, and then on the other, we'll have a country or an ag area, similar to how the river runs to the north of town. So there was detail there that we worked through. We're still working through what exact colors of concrete we're going to add to the pad, but it should be similar to that effect with the river running through the middle. All right, we can go to the next slide. Basically more of the same. Now these are just still frame renderings that we can take a look at. You'll notice a couple things on the pad. One would be the big water dumping bucket. Thought it would be neat to mimic the water tower in town and keep the Maquoketa Cardinal logo on there. There's a couple of features on one side of the river that are more accustomed to country theming, such as plants, animals, the tractor, etc. And then on the other side of the river, more kind of like industrial, geometrical shape features, if you will. So this just kind of walks through those renderings and what it'll look like. We can go ahead and go to the next slide here, Josh.
Is that tractor still green, Scott?
It's still open.
Oh, okay.
All it takes is a sponsor.
It can be whatever color you need it to be.
Did I go too far?
Nope, I think you're good. So right here we have the restroom plan. So this is kind of a more zoomed in micro level of what the restroom will entail. So we can see we do have 2 family restrooms off to what would be the west side of the area. The other room is the basically modular room where all the WQMS water quality management system components would be housed to make this recirculating system operate. So this is what it would look like kind of on the interior. Some of the exterior, we're going to utilize limestone wainscoting around the bottom of the building, again, because limestone is a big part of Maquoketa's history. So it'd be really neat to add that and integrate it into the building. And then it's basically a 360 degree perspective around it. You can see up there on the front elevation image, there is a little bit of a jet up with the limestone. That will be the outdoor shower. Similar to what Josh had mentioned earlier, we can satisfy a lot of the shower requirements that the state has through the YMCA building. So we're just adding one outdoor shower to this to help maintain on some of the costs.
I have a question.
Yes.
The color of the river, is that going to be paint?
The river, we're planning it to be an integral colored concrete. So we're looking at either a blue or kind of like a light jade color. So it'll be integral.
So it's not going to be something that we're going to, as a city, have to maintain and repaint multiple times?
That's correct. There is only one portion of the pad that would be a stain, so it wouldn't be integrated color. On the city side of the pad, if you will, we're looking to do a street grid, and that street grid would be an integrated stain color on top of the concrete.
Since we're on that topic, Cole's described it. These splash pads, you do want to do something because the water will harden and it will leave a color anyway if you do nothing. I would say that Scott, Cole, and I are in between coloring the concrete, staining it, or painting it yearly, every other year or something. If you color it to how this is sort of portrayed and what we know of today, it's approximately $30,000. The color is expensive. That's, something, some feedback from you all as far as if the money's there and the bid's good, do we continue proceeding with it? Do we stain it and go from there? But it's an active email conversation between Cole, Scott, and I and Cole's team about how to best do that. So
30,000 for integrated coloring. What about staining? What's the cost of that? And what's the longevity of a
The
stain?
staining it's a pretty drastic drop. It really is. So our thought on the integral color is something happened to the concrete, it got chipped, whatever. It's not gonna just stick out as, the top level stain or the coat chipped off and now we can see just the standard gray concrete. It's still gonna have the integrated color. So it makes that blemish blend in a little bit more. The stain, however, is they sell it in 5-gallon units, and it's about $550 for a 5-gallon bucket. With that, it covers about 1,000 square foot. So the street grid that we're looking at is, I think, 290 square foot. So we would have quite a bit of extra stain on hand for future application if every 2 or 3 years we thought we had to reapply it.
Is there any way to clear coat it? Like, say if you started with, once it was completed, everything's bright and colorful. Is there any way to clear coat it for longevity and maybe make it a little cheaper instead of having to buy that paint?
There are ways. The biggest issue we've ran into that is the texture and kind of the slickness of it. We want to make sure it's not too slick so kids aren't sliding around. So we've had a discussion with Gerke Robinson out of Bettendorf, who's kind of a specialist in that top level concrete coating. And, doing a clear coat, they said is not ideal for a splash pad, but they said there may be alternatives that may have a better solution so it's not so slick. So that's something we're still continuing to look into as well.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
If it's cost efficient, like I said, it's just something to look at.
Right. Yep.
Scott, you've had an opinion on this as far as staining. Yeah.
I personally like the stain.
Right.
That's me. The way I look at it is if you do end up with a concrete pop, you have to fill it anyway, so go ahead and fill it. And we keep stain on hand, so we go ahead and stain it to match.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be perfect. Each year the colors bleed a little bit more or fade a little bit more. But I think long term, I think it's a better way to go. And cheaper initially too.
Okay. Getting some head nods.
I don't want to end up like the YMCA pool that we're repainting and repainting and
And we're
repainting.
tiling next year.
I know.
I think
we
we have
learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
If we have the money, I think we color the concrete and just be done with it.
Is there a way to, value engineer that at a later time and make a decision after a bid?
Yeah, I think there
Yeah.
definitely is. I think depending on where the bids come in at, we can kind of make a better estimate on, what the contractors are doing with the pricing. So the pricing that we pulled was from Manats, so a highly respected company. We've worked with Adam. He's been terrific to work with so far. And he sent us pricing from directly to the contractor. So depending on if they mark it up, how they mark it up, it may be a little bit more than the official estimates that we have here. So I think it's something that we can take a look at maybe on the back end, and we could also include it as an alternate option. So, any more questions on that? All right. So secondary to the splash pad, this is just a depiction of the shades that we're looking to put around it as well. So these are traditional T cantilever shades. I think they're sized about 18 foot by 10 foot. They'll sit along the outside perimeter. So we're having limestone seating blocks around the perimeter of the pad. Another good way to integrate limestone into the project, these shades would sit just every so often around the pad, just to add a little cooling aspect and kind of bring a neat aesthetic to the pad itself. That's just an install drawing and then a complete photo of what it'll look like when it's all done.
Now, does it have to be disassembled over the winter months?
Yes, we do. Not the whole structure itself. It's a great question. But the fabric, we do recommend taking that down. The reason being is because we're in Iowa, we get snow. They don't factor in a snow load when they do the engineering plan for these. But the shade itself has a turn and slide technology on each corner where there's an integrated hook and a mechanism where all it takes is a socket. You undo it a couple times and that hook will release. So they're super easy to take down and put back up. And it's something that whomever installs them, we would do the training and show, whoever from the city is going to be overseeing it, how they work. Very, very simple to use. But that's a great question. Yep. Lightning detection system. So this is a big factor that we wanted to add into the pad project. What's really neat about this is the WX line lightning detection system can talk to the splash pad controller. So this detection system, it's customizable, but generally what we do is within 5 miles, if there's a lightning strike, that sensor will then talk to the controller box, then talks to the splash pad controller to shut the system down. So we want to make sure that it's not an attractive nuisance that there's water and a play feature outside if there's a big storm coming through. And this really helps us, solidify that, hey, if there is a storm, if there's lightning, if there's any risk at all, the pad's going to shut down. So nobody's going to stay there anyways. Secondary, we're going to have a couple of different warning signals that go on the building directly. So it's going to be right there for everybody to notice, to see. Not only do we have a siren that releases a sound, warning them of the lightning that was detected, but there's also going to be a little board that's attached to the building that has a warning and then an alarm signal. So we can set that warning signal to whatever you guys would like it to be, all the way up to 20 miles. So if there's a lightning strike detected within 10 miles, it's not quite an alarm yet, but it will give it a warning saying, hey, there was a lightning strike detected within 10 miles. It'll let those people know. So go to the next slide, Josh, and it'll kind of show you the integrated parts. It's very easy to utilize. It doesn't require like a renewal or a fee. Once you guys purchase it, it is yours. So some of the other lightning detection systems, they don't have that. They have like a renewal every year where you have to actually pay for the service. So this is something that would be yours. We would do the professional installation of the lightning detection system, and then with that, integrate it into the splash pad controller, making sure that everything is working accordingly, and do just a small training on it as well in case, there's a battery or something that's getting low. So.
And how much does that system run? Curiosity.
The system itself, with the install included, was around 30 to 35,000, I believe.
Great safety feature.
Yes.
One thing that's unique to this as well is it doesn't have to just be a single site location. Now, we've chosen for this particular situation to do a single site location, but if you ever had, you know, a yearning to put a lightning detection sensor or an alarm at another park or location in Maquoketa, it can talk to each other. And there'd just be a transmitter that's needed for that to happen. But yeah, it can actually expand out to more than one location.
That's really great because it's not going to be staffed, and so it reduces liability and it protects your equipment.
That's the biggest thing, right? It's a fantastic thing, right, to have a splash pad, but we don't want it to become that attractive nuisance.
Yep.
Where it's causing issues if there's a storm and, you know, be that as it may, they're not gonna leave just because there's a little rainstorm. And it can get bad quick, as we all know, in the past week, so.
Yeah.
All right, just wanted to talk about installation a little bit. So for the splash pad equipment itself, for the WX line lightning detection system, those two items are pretty well a specialty item to install. You know, it's not something that contractors do every day. So we have certified teams that will install those. With that, they'll do the startup and training services and then the winterization services with you. And then we're gonna do a site bid package for the rest of the install, which would include the shades, the building, some of the secondary items within the splash pad, probably include some of the excavation, utility work, and concrete. So putting together a bid package that includes all those aspects so local contractors do have the chance to bid and work on this project close to home. I think there's one more page. So this is our operating costs analysis. So this is something I sent to Josh and Scott maybe about a month ago, just to take a look at what we expect the total cost to be to operate this splash pad within a season. So it takes a lot of different details into consideration. Obviously, you can see up there, there's energy consumption estimates, and that takes the controller, chemical controller, since this is a recirculating system, pumps, etc., the chemical consumption, you know, the water refill rates. So there's a lot of variable factors here that we kind of customize to this pad design itself. And if we go down to the bottom, Josh, we got your city water meter rates, sewer rates. Taking all that into consideration, that bottom line number is what we estimate a total cost per season to operate the splash pad.
What is that number?
It's 10,613. Yeah, sorry for the eye test.
It's that Scott and I are still skeptical, by the way. You know, we kind of think 2025, but if we get away with 10 here, incredible. So,
Wow, yeah.
That's really cheap.
yeah.
It takes everything into consideration. So the table right above it is kind of the average temperature days that we see here in the Midwest. We take the amount of rain days into effect as well. So throughout the operating season, which we classify as like Memorial Day to Labor Day, that 100-day span of when the weather is actually nice, you know, it's going to be a nice day if it's not raining out. It takes all of those days into consideration and what we think the use of the pad will be during those certain situational days. So,
Cole, with two things. We expect to bid these plans in May. It's very likely at the Thanksgiving time that the concrete, the shelters up, all these things that are not splash pad equipment related. So I think the community is going to end up with the site in November, and then April, May, June, that's when the install of play equipment would happen. So you're looking at kind of a May 2027, June 2027 open. And then two, when it does open, you know, I guess Delmer's splash pad, you have to go hit a button every 5-10 minutes. There's a bit of this involved with the project, but this equipment stays on. And there's a financial and equipment maintenance reason for that. It's easier for the equipment to stay on. I don't know why, but you know, maybe you could talk a little bit about that, Cole, about why the equipment may look like it's running and it shouldn't be when there's not as many people there possibly.
yep. So the splash pad will have an activator button. Essentially, once that activator button is pressed, it'll talk to the controller. It then sends a signal to the solenoids to release all the water to the respective features, so on and so forth. Traditionally, we run that for 4 minutes. So once the activator button's pressed, the pad will run for 4 minutes. If it shuts off and nobody's there, then it just stays off. If the kids are still there, obviously they press it and then the the whole cycle restarts. Because we have an elevation feature on this, which is the large aquatic play structure, we want to make sure that that's running because it takes a lot of energy for that pump for that elevation to kick on and, run. So if that's always constantly stopping and starting during those 4-minute sequences, that gets really hard on the equipment. So since we're recirculating the water, we figured it best to leave the elevation on during the entirety of the operational hours, which you can set to whatever you would like it to be. And then the rest of the splash pad features would still function off of that activator button. So to Josh's point, if it's 7:50 at night and the pad closes at 8 and there's nobody there, but that elevation is still running, it will shut off during the operation hours that you set for it and give it that parameter.
And the elevation structure is your center slide
That's correct.
bucket.
Yep.
Didn't this go so much better than a street infrastructure plan presentation? Congrats, Cole. This is the best project planning presentation I've been a part of here.
It's fun to talk about. It really is. So I think, after the WQMS analysis, that was my last slide. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. If anything pops up after the meeting, just reach out to Josh or Scott. They can get you my contact info. We can.
Yeah, Cole, what is the expected life of the pumps that are being used here?
We've seen great success with the pumps that Vortex utilizes. So I would say anywhere from 10 to 15 years they should last. This is a large system, and there's one feature pump that's working a lot of this. So this might decrease it significantly, but I would say anywhere from 7 to 10 years would probably be realistic for the lifespan of these pumps.
Okay.
Is there a warranty that comes with them?
Yes, there's a warranty. It differs for all the different products and the material that they're made out of. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but that's something I could send you guys as a summary.
Please do.
Yep.
Vortex's name too is top of the line in the industry. There's no emergent technology type risk here with your mechanicals.
The Maestro controller is what the technical name is called for the splash pad controller. It is 100% the heart and the brain of your splash pad. So once this proceeds, we do a startup and training, we'll run you through how it works, and that thing tells you absolutely everything you need to know as far as chemical levels. If there's something that's like an error that occurs somewhere within the system, it'll show you and it'll tell you what the problem is. It's awesome. It's one of the best controllers in the industry, if not the best one. So it's really going to be your best friend. With that, it does have remote access. So it's something that you could actually log into it from City Hall here on a computer just to see if there's any issues with the pad, or if you get a call like, hey, this one feature's not running anymore, what the heck's going on with it? You can actually look at it remotely instead of driving down there to check it out. So it's super user friendly. It's just like your iPhone or an iPad, just, virtual touch. So super duper nice to use.
Thanks, Cole.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move on. Item number 7 is a public hearing. It's a public hearing regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 165.10 Agriculture District A1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Maquoketa.
Thank you, Mayor. Opening a public hearing for a minor zoning code amendment to the agriculture district. Admittedly, this was inspired by some discussion with Timber Court, Timber Drive neighborhood related to possible zoning rechange. And what you see in the red text is really, you had to get a wind turbine permit, and we don't have a full solar, industrial farm scale solar code yet. Confinements, feedlots, some of these things are not controlled by city code itself. So part of our commitment to this process was making it explicitly clear what could or could not go into the A1 code, which is why this went through the Planning and Zoning Commission a couple weeks ago. Doug wrote it at my suggestion. Mayor Tom was at the Planning and Zoning meeting. There is no adverse effect to present A1 districts in the community or within city limits, so this does make sense, and this doesn't affect any real change in our code, but it just clarifies some language where requested. So That's what I have on it, and if it's agreeable to you later in this agenda, and you have 6 votes, I recommend you waive readings and bring it through, pass and through the third.
Okay. That being said, is there anybody who wishes to get up and address the council on this issue? I want to say before you get started, everybody gets 3 minutes. It's going to be 3 minutes hard.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Malloy. I'm a Quad City attorney representing some of the residential owners and taxpayers residing on Timber Court and Timber Drive. We have been opposing the rezoning, and this particular issue is really in tandem with that. And as you know, the rezoning is up for second reading tonight. And today I submitted a potential settlement that the residents could possibly agree to regarding the rezoning. This involves 2 conditions. Number 1, the present fence location being moved from its existing location to the boundary lines of the approximately 36 acres that is being proposed to be rezoned. Secondly, the remaining 16 acres, parcel 70.2025, would remain R1 and could not be downzoned. Now, as you know, this is a rather unusual rezoning petition. Most rezoning petitions in a municipality are trying to rezone from a lower zoning classification to a higher zoning classification. And this petition is doing the opposite. And that raises questions from the residents on why it would be downzoned to A1 when it's in a residentially zoned area and it's within the municipal corporate limits of the municipality. Now, we understand the city and the petitioner have not completed negotiations on a potential settlement agreement between the petitioner and the city. The negotiations are still ongoing right now, is my understanding, and have not been concluded. So we believe that we're trying to make a good faith attempt to settle this matter, but the city council, as the body that decides this, has to consider the entire city of Maquoketa in the rezoning and make the right decision. Therefore, we think the best alternative tonight is to table the second reading of the rezoning so that this matter can move forward as far as negotiations
You've had your 3
between the
minutes.
parties. I'll wrap it up now. Negotiations between the parties and try to reach a good faith settlement to avoid further litigation. Any questions that anybody has on the city council? And some of my constituents are here tonight that that also may want to address this.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to get up and address the council?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing and a second, so go ahead and take the roll.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to another public hearing. It's regarding the fiscal year 2026-27 budget and the capital improvement plan for the city of Maquoketa for financial year ending June 30th, 2027.
Thank you, Mayor. there's a large scanned attachment that you may have reviewed. I know the Finance and Personnel Committee has reviewed it several times and gone over taxes and gone over the department head CIPs, and it leads up to this moment for passing a budget, and it's unique with each city how they do their process. I am writing still that kind of more comprehensible budget document explaining the funds and how things go. If there was ever a new council member, a concerned citizen, I expect that finished this week and will be posted to the website, and each of you will have a full copy of it. But overall, I would say regarding this budget, it's backed by a lot of motions and support actions, but notably on behalf of staff and some of the problems we faced last year, it seems like we're doing well. Expenses rise, and there's property tax threats still, and things that are possibly gonna come down the pipeline with 2% cap on growth and a whole number of things that's gotten managers nervous. But, last year at this time, we didn't have corporate hangar renters at the airport, and we didn't know how that fund was gonna make it, and we were strapped to 20-year grant clawbacks and some of these things that don't seem good. And I put this together a lot over the weekend and was thinking just how far we've come in that airport fund as an example, because going back to my prior writing, that was my management concern, and is how if you're at Fairway, how are you defending a $1.8 million 500-foot runway extension and other things like that? And I'm just here to tell you that it just is amazing how well that fund turned around, and how overall it seems like your rate plan is stable and acceptable compared to other cities that have had to pass double digits. And I think Oline even passed a 30% rate increase for their utilities. Some of the stuff you hear out there on water rates and sewers, Goose Lake is another I'm uniquely familiar with, where they went from a $20 bill to an $80 wastewater bill recently. Those problems aren't here, and it's because you have good staff, and I have good help, and you have a good Finance and Personnel Committee who I think understands the broader picture. So I'm happy to present this, and I'm happy to talk with anyone in the community about why the money moves the way it does, and it goes towards what strategy, like we just listened to at the YMCA project. If you have any questions on it or items that you may have seen on your review, I'm happy to answer them now. I spent quite a bit of time in this the last couple weeks.
Anybody have any questions?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Coleman, seconded by Hayward. We have no discussion. Take the roll.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to item 8. It's our consent agenda, and that consists of the minutes of the April 6th, 2026 special city council meeting, the minutes of the April 6th, 2026 regular council meeting, the March financial reports. We have bills payable through April 20th, 2026 in the amount of $1,026,803.28. We have approval of an outdoor liquor license filed by Maquoketa Brewing on special events, a renewal of a tobacco sales permit for Dollar General number 2295, a renewal of a Class E retail liquor license filed by Hy-Vee Dollar Fresh, a renewal of a Class C retail liquor license filed by Onward Fine Arts Center. And finally, an approval of a premises location update to 23614 Highway 64 West, Maquoketa, Iowa, to 303 East Platt Street in Maquoketa, filed by Can City.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hayward, seconded by Alinger. If we have no discussion, take the roll.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Abstain.
Coolman.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. All right, we get to old business. Item A is an ordinance to rezone property submitted by Big Country Properties LLC. Property being identified as parcel number 145-183-04000-3400 and legally described as parcel 71-2025 in the city of Maquoketa, Iowa, and disclosed by plat of survey recorded on September 14th, 2025 as Jackson County Recorder Document Number 252739 from R1 Residential District to A1 Agriculture District. And this is our second reading.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Coolman.
Second.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may on this. One thing before we get too far into this, I know the attorney representing some of the neighborhood residents spoke, but this would be your opportunity to receive some input, but Doug and I's input has not changed. Out of the meeting last week, there was no agreement because we didn't have one that we were willing to accept. And I have not talked to the applicant since Monday of that meeting, and Doug has contacted his attorney, and we don't have any other working agreement. One was alluded to earlier, it does not exist, and there's not one ongoing right now. So there is no land exchange. There is no other side parallel conversation happening but this 35 flood acre parcel rezoning request. And for the reasons that we've continued to talk about from a logical perspective, we feel that this is the best use of it, and it has an owner who wants to make something of it. And that's not a popular opinion, and I know that you have a tough job to do on this, but it's one that, it's not indefinite forever. A new owner could come into the property, a new owner could come into the 16-acre property and change that at a later time too. So your vote today doesn't make this the final purpose for the next 100 years. It's just one part of the zoning process that cities have authority to rule on. And Doug and I have talked a very, very long time about this and some of the influences that have led to this over the past 9 months. And I'm of the opinion that if you remove people from the room, that if you receive this paper, this would be an easy one to handle, since this former golf course was for sale for so long and needed some version of a caretaker. And so I'm hopeful, not certain, but I'm hopeful that in the next year or two, we end up in a better spot than we are today regarding this land plan, and we can move past this, but consistent with the land around it and some of the land property around the city that is agriculture, I don't think that this is an improper vote. And my recommendation to you tonight would be to pass this, and then on our next meeting on May 4th, pass it on third reading. Doug, do you want to add anything?
No, I guess say no and then I talk. But the one thing I would say, just to reiterate, as we've talked about all along, I think we've had two different tracks. One is a potential settlement deal, if you will. One is rezoning. This applicant is asked to rezone the property. The applicant has no obligation to negotiate with us on any special deal, but you have a burden under the code to consider the rezoning. And I know we've talked about the comprehensive plan at some length. I know you've considered the comprehensive plan, taken into account the quality of this property, likelihood of development or non-development, the fact that there's no city infrastructure in it, there's no streets leading to it. It was R1 because it was a golf course. It really wasn't R1 because it was set up nicely for residential. So focus is just on this rezoning. That's what the applicant's asked for. We're not in a position to condition the rezoning on any, to put any conditions on it right now. Under the Iowa Code, you can only condition a rezoning if the property owner agrees to that and has agreed to it by the time of the public hearing, before the adjournment of the public hearing, which has already happened. So at this juncture, we've got a straightforward, simple rezoning request that you folks are tasked with voting up or down, and whether or not there's any kind of additional agreement to come up again, it's hard to say, but right now doesn't seem to be moving anywhere.
Okay. If that's it, then go ahead and take the roll.
You got the motion second?
Did we have a second?
Yeah,
Yeah, Ginger Bennett.
Coolman and Bennett.
Mayor, may I address the council on this issue that was just brought up by the city attorney and city manager?
What do you think?
That's up to you, Mayor. It's your meeting.
How long is this gonna take?
Less than 3 minutes.
Okay.
Michael Malloy again. You just heard the city manager tell you that there is no agreement between the petitioner and the city at this time. It does not exist. we again urge you to table this ordinance tonight because it's simply an ordinance that has no conditions attached to it. A rezoning ordinance can be conditioned, as City Attorney Herman just advised you, that those conditions would not be able to be added tonight, but could be added sometime in the future if this matter was tabled, for instance. I think, and request that you use your best judgment here, not rush into rezoning this property on a second reading, and instead table the rezoning. Thank you for your time.
Okay, take the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We move on now to new business, and it's an ordinance amending Chapter 165.10 Agriculture District, A1, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Maquoketa, and this is the first reading. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, Mayor, it follows the public hearing comments on this that I provided. My recommendation to you is to pass this by 3 readings if we have it. That way it's set into our ordinance immediately. So that's the way staff and Doug feel this would best proceed.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Coolman, seconded by Alinger. Seconded by Alinger. If we have no discussion, then go ahead and take the roll.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and proceed with the second reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Lyon, seconded by Hayward, to suspend the rules. Any discussion? Go ahead and take the roll.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
I'd like to move our second reading.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Coolman. Any discussion? Take the roll.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. We move on now to item B, resolution approving.
Wait,
Suspend the rules and proceed with the
third.
third reading.
Second.
Okay,
We're on the third read now.
okay, now we're on a third reading.
It's all
Okay.
good.
All right, we have a motion by Lyon,
Second by me.
seconded by Coolman. If we have no discussion, take the roll.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll move on. That motion passed.
We need one more.
One more.
Motion.
Yeah,
One
what you
more.
guys
One more.
I'd like to make a motion for the third reading.
Okay, the third reading.
Second.
Go ahead.
Carolyn, second.
Caroline, we had motion by Lyon, seconded by Caroline. If there's no discussion, take the roll.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Done? Okay.
Now you can move on.
All right, we move on to item B, which is a resolution approving the fiscal year 26-27 city budget and capital improvements plan for the city of Maquoketa, Iowa for fiscal year ending June 30, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lyon, seconded by Coolman. Any discussion here? Then take the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item C is a resolution setting a public hearing for May 4th, 2025, 6 PM regarding the fiscal year 2025-26 budget amendment number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alinger, seconded by Hayward. Any discussion on this? Then go ahead and take the roll.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. We move on to item D. Is a resolution approving a downtown incentives grant, facade grant to Chet Den at 119 South Main Street in the amount of $15,000. Anything you want to add?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Bennett, seconded by Coleman. We have no discussion. Take the roll.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Okay, that one's approved. Item E is a resolution approving a downtown incentives grant, commercial interior grant to Patrice Devanzo at 105 South Main Street in the amount of $9,853.27 upon verification of completed work and final qualified costs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lyon, seconded by Rickrell. And
Hayward.
Hayward. If there's no discussion, take the roll.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell.
Yes.
You guys all sound alike tonight.
We try to mess with you.
That's the joy of hearing aids. Item E is a resolution approving downtown incentives commercial interior grant to, oh, we just did that one. Item F is a resolution amending a master agreement between Maquoketa Municipal Electric Utility and the City of Maquoketa for city hall space use and costs.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
on this one, Utility Director Chris Krogman and I took it upon ourselves to update this. It's been a couple years. We've separated insurance totally. They had their property lumped in with ours, and we separated. So there was a very small financial benefit to looping it together, but former finance clerk Andrea White and Lisa were spending about 50, 100 hours each year, it felt like, trying to determine what the share of a $1,000 payout would be, and it could never reconcile, and every time the data came up, it was a new number. So, you know, Jen Mashandi, bless her heart, as a broker and EMC, it just got to the point of we're consuming a lot of staff time with this. So we just separated insurances. And then also we have a folder stuffer at this point too. The language for the folder stuffer could be taken out. So our view on this is that it was fairly minor. The last time we took an update at this, Councilman Mark Lyon and Chair Jan Kaler for the board took a look at the agreement, and we formed the last one. It really isn't substantial, but it recognizes that the folder stuffer language and the insurance is removed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bennett, seconded by Coolman. And if we have no discussion, take the roll.
Coolman,
Yes.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. We made it to item G, which is a discussion and possible motion authorizing an order of streetlights from Wesco in the amount of $11,945.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a motion, support for a motion on an order of streetlights for the utility project, and 5 are needed. Galvanized silver, that's somewhat common in our neighborhoods where they're not wood poles. I think that the utility and the city's position where it's not your main arterial highways, we'd like them to eventually move to a kind of brushed steel galvanized look instead of a wood pole. So as these projects come up, that is our hopeful direction with them. And with these, they do last a long time, and this is the vendor that MME uses, and there's no sales tax involved, which is why it comes through the city here and not from MMEU.
Motion to approve.
Yes.
Are these additional, or these are just something to get, some light poles in the neighborhood?
A little bit of both, because, for example, in the block where Sacred Heart is on Eddy Place, there's one light, and we have an internal standard that every 300 feet should have a street light, and that's too much distance for just one street light. So 2 of those poles will go on that block,
Wanted
for
to ask that
example.
question earlier of you, but I didn't, so.
The light that comes out of the pole, is it spread out or is it more at the dome?
I don't know that. I
Okay.
think it depends on the head that gets
Yep,
installed,
yep.
but,
That was a big discussion when we did the street lights, so I
Yeah.
just throwing it out there, so.
right.
Okay,
So moved.
okay.
Second, either or.
Motion by Bennett, seconded by Coolman. Any more discussion? Take the roll.
Alinger,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Rickrell,
Yes.
Lyon,
Yes.
Coolman.
Yes.
Okay, that one passes. Made it to item 11, reports and communications. Anything from any of the council members?
Not today.
Motion to adjourn.
But city manager.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Josh. They gave you the night off.
We did have the start of the utility project with the public meeting that went out. I think I did communicate with you all and to every property that is affected by this project, similar to the Platt Street. We had about 15 people in this morning to cover, hey, this is what's expected over the next month, garbage, mail, what happens if a lead, galvanized, or Orangeburg pipe is found. Your road will be accessible at all times, except for when they're pouring wet concrete and these things. So had a couple really productive sessions. Took a couple phone calls later in the day today from people who wanted to be there but couldn't, and I kind of explained that they're always welcome to call staff, but project overall is really gonna be starting here in the next couple weeks. So if you have anything at all, you can forward it to me, Jen, John, and we'll answer as fast as we can. And good news, I guess similar to Congresswoman Ashley Hinson's recommendation for a $3.5 million earmark grant for the wastewater plant. This is in 2022. We're gonna have Congresswoman Miller Meeks's recommendation on the East Grove reconstruction project that's listed in your 10-year street plan. That's official. You can hold on to some anxiety until the federal budget's passed in October, but that's a $4.7 million recommendation for assistance on a grant that seemed like it was very much out of reach without going after a couple more dollars on the utility bill. So just like last time I went through this, you kind of ask the staff if there's an update and there's a federal budget filibuster and some lobbying going on, and then one day you get an email to look at page 2,398 or whatever it is, and then your project's listed right there. So with any luck in October, November, we'll actually secure that recommendation into a grant, and hopefully next year we'll be on another utility project on an area that very much needs it. So it's great news, and it's Congressman Miller Meeks's first Jackson County recommendation since, I guess, inheriting the district in 2023, I think. So it's good.
Cool.
Good job, good job.
Awesome.
Excellent.
That's good.
All right, with that, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Coolman,
Second.
seconded by Bennett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.